Azuli is a hidden military prison in Egypt. Khaled, an Egyptian activist, was imprisoned and tortured there. He described one experience where he was stripped naked, electrically shocked, beaten, and tied to a window frame by his wrists for 2.5 hours. He is one of at least 400 detainees who were forced to Azuli blindfolded, hidden from judicial oversight, and were routinely electrocuted or hung naked until they gave up information. Here, prisoners are invisible to the government and civilians. Jailers act without fear of getting in trouble for their actions, causing them to do anything to get what they want, including tormenting their prisoners. Article 5 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights states, "No one shall be subject to torture or to cruel, inhuman, degrading treatment." With the amount of torture used in prisons, Egypt clearly has an issue enforcing this right. Pushing for these mistreatments to end would give protection and peace to the lives of Egyptians. The cruel practice of torturing detainees could finally stop. Fair detainment could be reached, as well as an end to unnecessarily harsh punishment by police. Ever since the 1990s, torture has been used as a tool against prisoners in Egypt. Security forces would use torture to get suspected terrorists and their families to confess to crimes, whether or not they were actually guilty. One wife of a suspect described the torture she was put through in 1996. "They blindfolded me, stripped me down to my underwear, and hung me by my hands from a hook in the ceiling. As they taunted me, they whipped me with cable wire, kicked me in the stomach, and sliced open my back with razors." Torture continued under the 30-year reign of President Mubarak, who allowed Egyptian protesters of his dictatorship to be mistreated. Between 1993 and 2008, 460 cases of torture were reported, with 167 resulting in death under Mubarak. In 2008, families of suspects were still being tortured in order to gain information. In one incident, police officers intruded in a suspect's home, and upon realizing that he was absent, attacked his pregnant sister instead, causing her to fall down a flight of stairs to her death. Egyptian law states that any official who deliberately resorts in the course of duty to cruel treatment in order to humiliate or cause physical pain to another person shall be subject to a penalty of up to 1 year's imprisonment. Despite this law, cases like Khaled still happen, and security forces remain unpunished. What Egypt needs is enforcement of their laws. The security forces who abuse their power need to be removed and punished for what they've done. The laws needed to end torture are there. The only thing lacking is taking action. Ayman, a middle-aged man who was released from Azuli, told the news website The Guardian in an article that there is no documentation that says you're there. If you died Azuli, no one would know. Amnesty International's Mohammed al-Misri stated, "They don't care about the rule of law. They are holding people for over 90 days and subjecting them to ongoing torture without judicial oversight. These practices are a devastating blow to detainees' rights." What al-Misri says is very true. The security forces carelessly violate these people's rights, abusing and torturing them without concern. Some officers don't even see the wrong in torturing prisoners. Huffington Post reports, despite Egypt's constitution banning torture and abuse of detainees, the practice is widespread. A guard at one Egyptian police station in Alexandria proudly showed this reporter bloody handprints on the wall and a belt used to whip detainees. The attitude toward torture is disturbing, proudly showing off illegal practices they do with no shame at all. The Egyptian government needs to stop ignoring the torture going on in unjust prisons like Azuli in their country. They must draw attention to them and do what they can to terminate them. The government should be able to admit that these incidents are happening. They must bring up these issues. Without acknowledging them, nothing will happen. The people of Egypt should speak up against injustices they see and protest. The torture at Azuli completely contradicts Egyptian law. If the government decided to simply do something and execute their laws, the torture of both guilty and innocent people could end. We are all human. No person deserves to be subjected to abusive, immoral torment. If we enforce the laws banning torture in Egypt and spread awareness, we could be one step closer to a world without cruel and unfair punishment.